All right, so we're here with Jennifer Vanoy. Jennifer, tell us a little bit about yourself, what office you're running for.
So I'm running for the Tennessee State House in District 34, which is the southwest quadrant of Rutherford County.
Okay, so we had a couple of questions we were going to ask you, just kind of get your opinion on it.
Sure.
So first, over the past couple of years, there's certain members of the Tennessee legislature that's brought forth a lot of discriminatory legislation. So what will you do to combat that type of legislative agenda and get Tennessee back on track where we need to be?
So there's been a lot of discriminatory legislation that has been introduced, and actually during the 2017 legislative season, we had what we called the slate of hate, and there were numerous bills that were being introduced. And I was actually at the state legislature during that time, organizing advocates and activists to call their representatives and to go down and meet them, to write them letters, to write them emails. The very first thing that we can do is to get me elected into that seat, because that's one less person that we have to call when those kinds of bills come in.
Yeah, that's true.
But at the same time, if we can flip 9 seats, then we're out of the super minority, and we can start concentrating on the things that actually really matter to the vast majority of people. Things like expanding Medicaid, ensuring that there's access to affordable health care for everybody, better schools, better education.
Right.
So if we get more of a balance of power in our state legislature, then we will. Obviously, we don't have to have these bills come up anymore.
True.
So I'm hoping that at some point we'll find a point where it just doesn't matter anymore. We won't be facing this.
That would be amazing.
Wouldn't it?
That would be amazing. So then we were also wondering kind of, what's your opinion? Okay, so there's several states trying to band together to override federal laws passed, like the marriage equality. So what's your opinion on that going on? Not necessarily
so Obergefell is the law of the land. It is Supreme Court precedent. It is what it is, and it needs to stay where it is. And that's my opinion.
All right.
That's what I will continue to fight for.
Awesome. So there are petitions trying to overrule as well, with companies being able to fire workers based on sexual orientation and gender violation without violating workplace discrimination law. So what's your opinion on that?
My opinion on that is that discrimination is discrimination is discrimination is discrimination, and is wrong every single step of the way.
Sounds good. Is there anything else that you would like to add or tell the people that are out there?
You know, the biggest thing that we can do for this year, we've got a lot of momentum, but we need people to get registered. We need people to get out to vote.
Yes.
Because in reality, I know that when we vote, we win.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming by talking to us.
It's so good to see you.
And we look forward to seeing you win.
Thank you.
So we're back, and we are with Mariah Phillips. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Tell us a little bit about you, where you're from, office you're running for.
Absolutely. So my name is Mariah Phillips, and I'm running for Congress in Tennessee's 4th District. I'm a U.S. government teacher, so I teach my students how Washington is supposed to work, and it hasn't been working very well. So I figured I'd go to Washington and teach them how to get things done. I was actually inspired to run during the 2016 election. The divisiveness that we saw in the political conversation actually impacted the classroom. And so we saw, people just treating each other with disrespect, people that were friends that were really, saying things that were damaging their relationships.
Right.
And so we saw that not just in our classroom, I saw it in my classroom, but we also saw it, on Facebook, family members unfriending each other, and these issues really were harming our communities. So I decided that I wasn't going to stand for that. That's not the kind of community that I want to live in. And so I decided to change it from the inside out.
Awesome. Well, we got a few questions for you. I just wanted to get your opinion on a couple of things.
Okay.
So first, the Equality Act would provide consistent and explicit non-discrimination protections for LGBT people across key areas of life, including employment, housing, credit, education, public spaces and services, federally funded programs, and even jury service. Currently, it's been referred to the Subcommittee on the Constitution and Civil Justice. Do you support the Equality Act? And if elected, what will you do to see that the bill is passed?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think anytime that we are using anything, whether it's gender, orientation, race, age, and we're using that to discriminate against another group, it's wrong, and we need to make sure that we're working for a more diverse community all of the time. And so I definitely support the Equality Act for sure. And I would love, if I get elected, I definitely would co-sponsor that bill and join the hundreds that have already signed on to that to make sure that we can push that through.
So, not if, but when you get elected.
When I get elected,
right.
Thank you. Yes.
All right. So, then moving on. So, we want to get your opinion on the states that are attempting right now to override federal laws that have been passed, such as the Marriage Equality Act of 2015.
So, when the federal law actually does allow for these kinds of rights, which they should, and then the states come in and actually try to tear those laws apart. What it does is actually it makes us have to fight for the things that everyone really takes for granted, such as the ability for a married couple to pay taxes together and share health insurance, which is incredibly difficult these days to be able to afford that, to buy a house together. Those are the kinds of things that that most families take for granted, and that if the Marriage Equality Act were eliminated in certain states, then a lot of families would suffer as a result.
Right. And then, if you got time, one more question?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So, what is your opinion on the recent petition by 16 states, including Tennessee, to urge the Supreme Court to rule that companies can fire workers based on sexual orientation and gender identity without violating federal workplace discrimination law?
Well, besides the obvious damaging effect that would have on workers, and I've always been a strong advocate for the working people. I think that we all have a right to a good job, and we should not have any discrimination that keeps us from that. But if you think about it, it actually is much bigger than that, because there are so many large corporations that actually have diversity and inclusion as part of their mission statements. And that would actually keep businesses from coming to states like Tennessee if they allowed that to happen. So you're looking at some of those organizations overlooking the state of Tennessee, or whatever state chooses to discriminate, and that would actually hurt our economy. So it's much larger than that.
I agree. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
Look forward to seeing you progressing on in November.
Thank you so much. The election day is November 6th. I need everybody to turn out and make sure that you remember that I'm fighting for the hardworking people of this state, and I want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to succeed. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, Mariah Phillips.
All right, so now we have with us Kelly Northcutt. We're going to let her talk just a little bit about herself. Tell us a little bit about yourself and the office you're running for.
All right. My name's Kelly Northcutt. I'm running for State Senate, District 13, which is the western half of Rutherford County. Downtown Murfreesboro, Smyrna, Laverne, Rockvale, Christiana, Eagleville, and all the citizens in between. And a little bit about me. Let me see. I'm an MTSU graduate. Proud MTSU graduate. I have 3 grown kids. They all went to public schools here. I'm a single mom, and I'm just a working person. So I kind of understand all of the issues and struggles that come along with that, and that concern most everybody in the district. So I don't have to empathize with the struggles, I have lived them. And I think I want to make a difference in the state legislature by being someone who listens to the problems and issues that concern our citizens, because I don't think there's enough people up there that do that right now.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for taking the time to talk with us. We just have a few questions.
All right.
So first, over the past couple of years, certain members of the Tennessee legislature have brought forth a barrage of discriminatory legislation. So what will you do to combat that type of legislative agenda and get Tennessee back on track with the real issues?
That's a wonderful question. I think what I will do is, well, first of all, you kind of have to understand the state Senate is 33 people. So when you talk to one another about issues and bills and legislation, you really have to have a personal interaction because it's the size of a college honors class. And I think that once you get a personal interaction with someone, you can reach across divides. You know, you have to find some common ground.
Right.
And basically, I think we need to address things that, instead of discriminatory practices, we need to address things that are right and reasonable and better life for the people that we represent, the people of the state of Tennessee. And none of those discriminatory bills make anything better for anyone.
Right.
So I just don't think we need to be spending our time on that. I think we need to spend our time on how to make life better for the people we represent.
I agree. It's good to hear that.
Yeah.
So then, kind of piggybacking off of that, what is your opinion on states attempting to override federal laws that have been passed, such as the Marriage Equality of 2015?
I really think that when you initiate a bill like that, you have to consider all the implications. And again, I don't think that's right nor reasonable, and it doesn't better anyone's life to repeal that. As a matter of fact, the consequences of doing that would throw so many things into the mix. There are people that are legally married now, and all of the implications that carries. And I think that if you think the consequences of that through, it just becomes mired in so many issues. But basically, it's just not the right thing to do.
Right. Yeah. And then that kind of leads into seeing what your opinion is on the recent petition by 16 states, including Tennessee, to urge the Supreme Court to rule that companies can fire workers based on their sexual orientation and gender identity without violating federal workplace discrimination laws.
Okay, that's one that gets me pretty fired up. That is neither right nor moral. There are civil rights that we are all entitled to, and those are what our country was founded to protect. Our founding documents protect our civil rights, and that's not a majority rules kind of thing. Everyone has inalienable rights, and that just should not even be discussed, to repeal things that certify our civil rights. It's just, that's just a non-starter. Yeah.
You would think it'd be common sense, but
and also I think that even at a state level, it's like we need to concentrate on moving forward and not regressing to places that we've already covered that ground. It's been established that this is a right, and I uphold that. I don't think it's not right, nor reasonable, and civil rights are sacrosanct.
Well, thank you so much for taking time to talk with us. We look forward to seeing you move on forward in November.
Thank you. I look forward to that too, with your support and the support of anybody who wants to see change take place at the state level. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the night.
I will. It's lovely.
All right, so we're here now with Chris Mayer. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, absolutely.
We're going to let you just tell us a little bit about yourself and the office that you're running for.
Well, I am running for the State House of Representatives, District 49. That encompasses Smyrna, Laverne, a little bit of Murfreesboro, mostly in the Blackman area. I'm a carpenter, blue collar all my life, and finally after 2016 and that travesty that happened, decided I couldn't sit on the sidelines anymore. I've been politically active, I've been involved with groups, etc., but figured when I saw no one stepping up to challenge in the 49th district, somebody had to do it. Might as well be me.
All right. Well, we've got a couple of questions for you, if you don't mind answering. So first, over the past couple of years, certain members of the Tennessee legislature have brought forward some discriminatory legislation. So what will you do to combat that type of legislative agenda and get Tennessee back on track with real issues?
The best thing we can do is educate the voting public. That's we have to call out these hate bills for what they are. For example, last year they passed the monument to the unborn children.
Yes.
There's no reason for that other than to shame women who've had a legal medical procedure.
Agree.
And there's no reason for this whatsoever. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of taxpayer money. I will work on legislation that actually helps the majority of Tennesseans. Bills that will do the most good for the most people in our state.
Good. All right. Well, piggybacking off of that, we're going to get your opinion on states that are attempting to override federal laws that have been passed, such as the Marriage Equality Act of 2015.
Anybody that tries to weaken marriage equality, anybody that tries to pass a bathroom bill in Tennessee, anybody that tries to weaken the gains that the LGBTQ plus communities has had over the past several years is getting a fight from me. I will not stand for it. I will not be silent. We are there not to protect the majority. We are there to protect the marginalized. That the majority doesn't need the protection.
Fair enough. So then, kind of along those same lines, what's your opinion on the recent petition by 16 states, including Tennessee, to urge the Supreme Court to rule that companies can fire workers based on sexual orientation or gender identity without violating federal workplace discrimination law?
My opinion is not fit for polite company. It's hateful, it's discriminatory, it has no place in our state. If we are going to be the Tennessee that we can be, we can't allow this kind of thing to happen. We need to vote the people to sponsor that out of office, starting in District 49.
Sounds good. Well, look forward to seeing you in November.
I certainly hope so.
Anything else you'd like to add?
I've spent my entire adult life in construction, where I've learned how to fix things and how to build things. And with your help, I'll go to Nashville to fix this broken legislature and to build a better Tennessee for everyone.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking your time, and enjoy the rest of the evening.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, we're now joined with Matt Ferry. Thank you so much for coming out and speaking with us.
Thank you for having me.
We're going to start by just letting you talk a little bit about yourself and what district you're running for.
Okay, well, my name is Matt Ferry, and I'm running for State House District 48, which is pretty much the eastern half of Rutherford County. It's got MTSU in it. It's also got the rural communities of Las Casas, Kittrell, Christiana. I got involved years and years ago, starting out with Obama's campaign, and later he trained me how to be an organizer. And then I got involved with the Democratic Party, and now I'm running for State House.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we've got a couple of questions we're just going to get your feedback on.
Sure.
So first, over the past couple of years, certain members of the Tennessee legislators brought forth a lot of discriminatory legislation.
Yes.
So what will you do to combat that type of legislative agenda and get Tennessee back on track with the real issues?
Well, that's a great question, because as you just said, this state legislature has been passing these absolutely hateful, discriminatory legislation, and there's no need for that. Absolutely no need for that. If elected, or even if not elected, I want to be a vocal opponent to those kinds of things, and I'm all about coalition building. There's a lot of great groups nowadays, and I think we can all be stronger if we join in together against this kind of hateful legislation. And like I said, if I'm elected and in Nashville, I'll definitely be vocal about my support for LGBT rights. And also, I'm supporting Carl Dean for governor, who I want to remind people, if they don't know, Bill Lee is a Trumper. He might not act like it, but he has adopted all of Trump's policies, and he is okay with passing stuff like that. And Carl Dean is not. And so I'm saying that. I know that's not my campaign.
Right.
I'm saying that because we need a Democratic governor, for one thing, and we need somebody who's in that chair who is not going to accept those things and not going to pass those bills. And right now, there's someone on the right who's going to the right of Haslam. And so we absolutely need someone like Carl Dean.
Agreed.
I'll get off my soapbox about that. But basically, I mean, we need people in office who, I mean, what do they have to show for any of this? They don't have anything to run on. They don't have any accomplishments. And so that's why they pass stuff like that. It's red meat for their base. But it really hurts a lot of vulnerable people. So I'm absolutely against all kinds of discriminatory legislation like that.
Good. Well, next we're going to go into opinion on the states attempting to override federal laws that have been passed, such as the Marriage Equality of 2015.
Right, I'm absolutely against that too. Marriage Equality Act. Well, I mean, to be blunt, I think it was kind of a miracle that it happened.
Yeah.
and I'm so happy it did. And we cannot go against that. It's, you know, for those people, they cherry pick. You know. You know, when it suits them, the federal government should take charge, and when it suits them, the state government should take in charge. And I think definitely with this issue in particular, we cannot be overturning very important decisions like that, and it's a step in the wrong direction. And there's a lot of people who want to take us back, who they hate any kind of progress. They want to take us back to a place where there's only two classes of people, the very rich and the very poor.
Yeah.
And I'm getting really on my soapbox here. I'm really sorry, but I am against that. I'm against that. Yes.
Fair,
yes.
fair enough. Well then, along those lines, we're going to get your opinion again.
Okay, yes.
This time it's on the recent petition by 16 states, including Tennessee, to urge the Supreme Court to rule that companies can fire workers based on sexual orientation and gender identity without violating federal workplace discrimination law.
Right, that's absolutely disgusting. That's another discriminatory legislation. Discriminating against anybody is wrong, and especially in the workplace where a lot of people are discriminated against. And so that's another reason why I support Carl Dean, because Carl Dean helped pass those laws in Nashville to protect LGBT people in the workplace.
Very true.
And so I absolutely believe that we should not be passing legislation like that. You said 16 states are trying to do that, and I wouldn't surprise me if Tennessee jumped in there with them.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
They're one of them.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
they're one of them. Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
shows you how much I know. Okay. But
Yes.
absolutely, I mean, it doesn't surprise me that they're doing that, and it's absolutely wrong. Especially LGBT folks in rural areas are the most discriminated against, and they're the most vulnerable.
Yes.
And so we absolutely, you know, some of these people act like they're very big Christians, but they don't act very Christian-like to folks in their area, and that's absolutely disgusting and appalling to me. And if I'm elected as a state legislature, I'll be very, very loud about that, about my views on that.
Well, when you're elected, we'll
Yes.
be looking forward to that.
Yes,
So,
thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. Thank you
Thank
so much for coming by,
I
and enjoy
appreciate
the
it.
rest of the night.
I
Okay?
will. Thank you so much.